Kelsey Mitchell fired back, and Sheryl Swoopes won't like it. The Indiana Fever veteran just gave one of the most powerful interviews of her career, directly defending Caitlin Clark against what she described as dismissive, jealous energy from the league's older voices. This wasn't just a defense, it was a declaration. Mitchell didn't just protect Clark. She drew a line between those building the future and those still stuck in the past, and made it crystal clear which side she's on.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
There was no sugarcoating. Mitchell called out the toxic attitude from certain veterans, specifically Swoopes, who seemed more interested in gatekeeping than growth. And then she did something rare in pro sports. She talked about loyalty. Real loyalty. Staying with a team when there's no spotlight, no max contract, no trophies. Mitchell has been with Indiana through its darkest seasons. Now that the light's finally creeping in, thanks to Clark's cultural impact and a rising core around her, she's not about to let anyone tear it down out of spite. The best part? Mitchell framed it all around friendship. She didn't just talk about respect, she lives it. Her bond with Clark isn't performative. It's built on shared effort and genuine admiration, something many critics clearly don't understand. While Swoopes continues to question Clark's legitimacy, Mitchell is out here offering a blueprint for what this new era could be. Supportive, collaborative, and damn near unstoppable. With Aaliyah Boston anchoring the post and Lexi Hull stepping in her own, Mitchell sees the Fever as more than a playoff team. She sees a dynasty forming, and not one built on egos and drama. She's even hinted she'd take a pay cut to keep the group together. That's not strategy. That's vision. That's legacy thinking. And it's the exact opposite of the bitterness coming from figures like Swoopes, who can't seem to let go of the fact that the game has changed. This interview wasn't just a defense, it was a pivot point. Mitchell took control of the narrative, shut down the noise, and made it known. If you come for Caitlin Clark, you're coming for all of Indiana. And this time, they're not backing down. Kelsey Mitchell didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She redefined a conversation about what leadership looks like in today's WNBA. In a league still figuring out how to balance its legendary past with its rapidly evolving present, Mitchell stepped up and said what needed to be said. Loudly, clearly, without dodging. She responded to Sheryl Swoopes' now infamous comments about Clark, not with pettiness or personal digs, but with facts, with conviction, and with vision. And let's be real, this wasn't just about setting the record straight. This was about setting the tone for the future of the league. Because when a Hall of Famer like Swoopes takes thinly veiled shots at one of the most impactful rookies the league has ever seen, it doesn't just cause a stir, it sends a message. A message that too many people in positions of influence still see the spotlight as something that needs to be protected, not shared. And that mindset, it's killing progress. That's what Kelsey Mitchell was calling out. She made it clear, Caitlin Clark is not the problem. The problem is the jealousy, the bitterness, the gatekeeping, the exhausting cycle of tearing down new stars in the name of humbling them. Mitchell didn't tiptoe around it either. She stood firmly in Clark's corner and called the criticism what it was: disrespectful, misguided, and harmful to the league's growth. And coming from Kelsey Mitchell, that hits differently. This is a player who's seen it all. She's been through seasons of irrelevance, injuries, rebuilds, and constant uphill battles in Indiana. While other players jumped ship for bigger markets or championship chases, she stayed. Through years of losing, through years of being overlooked, through years of pouring her heart into a team that wasn't getting any national attention. She earned every ounce of her platform. So when she speaks, especially with this kind of fire, people listen. And what she said was simple. Caitlin Clark has changed everything. The visibility? Off the charts. The cultural relevance? Skyrocketing. Clark didn't just bring fans. She brought an entirely new audience to the league. She brought momentum, buzz, investment. She made people care in ways that haven't happened at this scale before. And Mitchell knows that's not something to criticize. It's something to protect. But even more than that, Mitchell praised who Clark is off the court. She talked about their relationship, the mutual respect, The fact that Clark didn't walk into the league acting like she owned it. She's come in, stayed humble, learned fast, and earned her spot, not through marketing campaigns or viral moments, but through hooping, through showing up every game and grinding with the rest of them. Mitchell's comments drew a sharp contrast between that authenticity and the negativity coming from the league's past stars. She didn't name names beyond Swoopes, but the message was loud and clear. The old guard needs to let go of their resentment and start supporting the future. Because here's the truth Mitchell is trying to get everyone to see. There is room for all of it. There's room to honor the pioneers of the league and celebrate the players who are taking it to new heights. There's room to acknowledge past struggles and embrace the current moment. There's room to love what the W was and still be excited for what it's becoming. Mitchell is choosing unity over ego, and she's putting her money where her mouth is, literally. She said she's willing to take less money to keep this Indiana Fever core together. Why? Because she believes in what they're building. Because she knows a dynasty doesn't happen by accident. It happens when players buy in, stay loyal, and lead by example. And that loyalty, that leadership, that's what sets Mitchell apart. She isn't chasing headlines. She's building something real in Indiana, with Caitlin Clark, with Aaliyah Boston, with Lexi Hull, with a team that's turning heads not just because of their talent, but because of their chemistry. And that chemistry, it's not fake. It's not for cameras. It's rooted in genuine respect, in shared goals, in friendship, which is why Mitchell's interview hit so hard. Because it wasn't just about calling out bad behavior. It was about showing what the league could look like when players choose collaboration over competition, respect over rivalry. She held up a mirror to the league's culture and said, "We have to do better." Because if every time a new star rises, we respond by tearing her down, what does that say about who we are as a league? What message does that send to the fans? To the kids watching? To the next generation of players? Mitchell said it plainly. The negativity is tired. The jealousy is played out. And the disrespect? It's getting old. If we want this league to keep growing, we can't keep sabotaging ourselves from within. That's the shift Mitchell is pushing for, a WNBA that welcomes new talent with open arms, not cold shoulders. That celebrates what each generation brings to the table. That understands legacy is about building something that lasts, not clinging to who did it first. And whether people want to admit it or not, Mitchell is leading the way. With her game, with her words, with her willingness to challenge the status quo and call for something better. Because this isn't about one rookie. It's not even about one legend. It's about a culture. And Mitchell is saying, enough is enough. It's time to move forward. Together. She's not asking for perfection. She's asking for respect. And respect is the least Caitlin Clark, and players like her, deserve. Not because she's perfect, not because she's above criticism, but because she's earned her spot. She's put in the work. And more importantly, she's brought new life to the league in a way that should be celebrated, not scrutinized. That's the line Mitchell drew. And the fans? They're backing her. Because the league doesn't grow without stars. It doesn't grow without leadership. And it definitely doesn't grow when players are too afraid to stand up and say what's real. Kelsey Mitchell said what needed to be said. And now, the ball's in the league's court. Will it embrace the shift toward unity, toward collaboration, toward respect? Or will it stay stuck in the same bitter cycle that's held it back for too long? Either way, Kelsey's already made her choice. And she's not backing down. So now it's your turn. Do you agree with Kelsey Mitchell's stance? Was she right to confront the league's internal jealousy and push for a culture that uplifts rather than tears down? What do you think the WNBA needs more of right now? Defensiveness from the past or support for the future? Let us know in the comments. And if you're here for unfiltered breakdowns of the biggest moments in sports drama, subscribe. Because we're not just covering the headlines. We're following the energy shift. And Kelsey Mitchell just changed the game. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about what kind of league the W wants to be. And the message is clear. Growth over ego. Respect over resentment. Unity over hierarchy. It starts now. Let's be clear. What Kelsey Mitchell said wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. It was about the entire future of the WNBA. Because when a player like Mitchell, who spent her career grinding in silence, finally steps forward and speaks this directly, this powerfully. It's not noise. It's not drama for attention. It's truth. Hard-earned, crystal clear, and long overdue. And here's the truth she laid out. The WNBA can't grow if the people within it keep tearing each other down. That's the problem Mitchell was addressing. Not just Sheryl Swoopes' dismissive comments about Clark, but the culture those comments represent. A culture of bitterness, of defensiveness, of trying to clip the wings of new stars instead of letting them fly. It's not just one interview. This tension has been building all season. Every time Caitlin Clark does something impressive, breaks a record, fills an arena, lands a national sponsorship, there's been pushback. Not always from fans, often from inside the league, from voices who paved the way, yes, but who now seem more interested in guarding the spotlight than passing it. And Mitchell, without hesitation, said what everyone's been thinking. That mindset is toxic, and it's got to go. Let's talk about what she actually did in that interview. She didn't grovel. She didn't play the politics game. She told her story, her loyalty to Indiana, her patience through losing seasons, her refusal to leave, even when the easy route would have been to chase money or clout elsewhere. And then she talked about Caitlin Clark, not like a media darling, not like some rookie phenomenon, but like a teammate, a friend, a competitor who gets it, who wants to win, who shows up, who puts the work in, who respects the ones who came before her. Mitchell made it crystal clear. Clark's rise doesn't diminish anyone else. It multiplies opportunity. She's brought millions of new fans to the sport. She's brought unprecedented attention to the Fever. And instead of being threatened by that, Mitchell said thank you. Because real leaders understand that success isn't a pie. More for one doesn't mean less for everyone else. That's what makes Mitchell's comments so powerful. They weren't just emotional, they were strategic. She sees the bigger picture. She knows what it means for everyone when the league gets this much buzz. She knows that attention on Caitlin Clark means attention on the Fever, on the WNBA, on all of them. But instead of sitting back and reaping the benefits, she's out here making sure the league doesn't mess it up from the inside out. And yes, she directly addressed the attitude coming from certain corners of the old guard. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't hide behind vague PR language. She called it what it is: jealousy, resistance to change, insecurity dressed up as critique. And whether it's Swoopes or anyone else taking aim at Clark, Mitchell laid down a challenge: do better. Because this isn't 2003. This league doesn't survive on a niche fan base anymore. It's growing. It's shifting. It's finally being seen. And the last thing it needs is infighting over who deserves what. That's the real danger. The league doesn't need the media tearing down women's basketball. Some of the players are already doing it themselves. And for what? To remind people that they were here first? Mitchell made it very clear. Being here first doesn't mean you get to be the only one who matters. Respect goes both ways. You can honor the past while making room for the present. And the present? It's undeniable. Caitlin Clark isn't just a good rookie. She's a cultural shift. She's changed who's watching, who's talking, who's investing. She's altered the trajectory of the league in real time. And Mitchell knows that's not something you suppress. That's something you protect. And here's the thing. Mitchell wasn't talking from the outside. She's in it. She's in the locker room. She's playing with Clark every day. She knows her work ethic, her mindset, her willingness to learn. So when she vouches for Clark, it means something. She's not fangirling. She's not chasing headlines. She's co-signing as someone who's been there, who's earned her spot, who doesn't hand out respect unless it's deserved. And the fact that she's not only defending Clark, but offering to take less money to keep this team together, that says everything. That's not just talk. That's leadership. Mitchell understands that if they want to build a real dynasty in Indiana, it starts with culture, with chemistry, with keeping the core group intact and unified. She's betting on the long game, on legacy, on building something that lasts. And part of that is protecting her teammates, not just from opponents on the court, but from the noise off it. And let's be honest, there's been a lot of noise lately. Mitchell just cut through it. Her words weren't just a defense of Clark. They were a defense of progress, of the future. of a league that can't afford to eat itself from the inside out. And now, people are listening, because Mitchell didn't just speak as a teammate. She spoke as a leader in a league at a crossroads. Do we keep clinging to the past, scared of what change means? Or do we embrace it and grow? Kelsey Mitchell has made her choice, and she's not just talking about it. She's living it. She's choosing unity over bitterness, progress over protectionism, loyalty over ego. And now, the ball's in everyone else's court. Because this moment, it's not just about one player, or one team, or even one comment. It's about the future of women's basketball. And if the WNBA wants to reach the next level, it needs more voices like Kelsey Mitchell's. Unapologetic, grounded, and laser-focused on building something together. Because at the end of the day, this league doesn't rise on stats alone. It rises on character, on relationships, on respect. And that's exactly what Mitchell just modeled. So now the question is, who's going to follow her lead? Who's going to stop the jealousy and start the collaboration? Who's going to put the growth of the game above the pride of the individual? We'll see. But one thing's for sure. Kelsey Mitchell just gave everyone a blueprint. And she did it without clout chasing, without dragging anyone personally, just with honesty, humility, and a vision for something bigger than herself. That's what leadership looks like. This wasn't a one-off quote. This wasn't heat-of-the-moment energy. This was a calculated, thoughtful, and intentional stand from someone who's been through every part of the WNBA system. And she's tired. Tired of watching players get disrespected for bringing positive change. Tired of seeing the same bitter reactions cycle through every time someone new starts making waves. And most of all, tired of watching progress get met with resentment instead of support. So, yes, when Sheryl Swoopes made her comment about Caitlin Clark, it struck a nerve. Not just with fans, not just with media, but with players who are out there living the real impact of Clark's presence every single day. And Kelsey Mitchell said what others were too careful to admit. There's a real jealousy problem in this league. Not competition, not friendly rivalry. Jealousy, the kind that comes from being uncomfortable with the fact that the spotlight has shifted, that a new era is being ushered in, and not everyone is ready to welcome it. But here's what makes Mitchell's response so powerful. She isn't threatened by Caitlin Clark. She's energized by her. She's not gatekeeping the spotlight. She's expanding it. She's not defending Clark just because they wear the same jersey. She's doing it because she knows firsthand how rare this moment is. How rare it is for the league to have this much attention, this much buzz, this much momentum. And instead of ruining that with ego, she's leaning into it with humility. Let's be honest. Kelsey Mitchell could have been bitter. She could have echoed Swoopes and said, "Where was the love when I was grinding in Indiana?" She could have made it about herself, but she didn't. She chose team over self, vision over validation. And that's rare, because she gets it. She understands that what they're building in Indiana isn't just about one season or one rookie. It's about something bigger. It's about changing the standard. And she knows you can't do that if you're still stuck in old mentalities about who gets to be celebrated and when. This is what leadership looks like in 2025. Not chasing credit, not demanding recognition for the sake of ego, but standing up for what's right, even when it would have been easier to stay quiet. That's exactly what Mitchell did. She stood up, not just for Caitlin Clark, but for every young player who's walked into this league and been met with side eyes and silence instead of support. She stood up for the future of the game, for the fans who want something different, for the culture that's being built right now, not in private conversations, but out in the open. She made it clear that this new generation of WNBA stars doesn't just want to be great players. They want to be great teammates, great leaders, great builders of something that lasts long after the buzzer sounds. And if that threatens the old way of doing things, so be it. Because what Mitchell, Clark, Boston, Hull, and the rest of the Fever are building isn't just a team. It's a statement. A statement that says, you don't have to be the loudest to be the most impactful. You don't have to tear others down to earn your shine. And you definitely don't need permission from the past to build the future. That's what's so powerful about this moment. Kelsey Mitchell didn't destroy Sheryl Swoopes with insults. She didn't drag her through the mud. She outgrew the narrative. She flipped the script. She took the bitterness that was thrown Clark's way and turned it into a blueprint for how to do things differently. With class, with confidence, with conviction. And if the league's watching closely, they'll realize this isn't just a player defending a teammate. It's a player redefining what leadership actually looks like in a modern W. Because let's be real, leadership used to look like dominance, like being the alpha, like controlling the narrative through fear, legacy, and hierarchy. But now, leadership looks like what Mitchell just gave us: vulnerability, loyalty, unity, and truth. And that's why fans are responding. That's why her words landed the way they did. Because people are tired of watching the same cycles repeat. You bring in a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, suddenly, everyone's got something to say. She hasn't earned it. She's overhyped. She's being handed too much too soon. But when she does show up, when she drops dimes, hits logo threes, takes hits, and keeps playing, when she handles disrespect from opposing players and critics with professionalism and poise. Crickets. That's what Mitchell was calling out. She was calling out the hypocrisy, the double standards, the quiet sabotage that happens when some of the league's most visible voices refuse to acknowledge what's actually happening. That Caitlin Clark is growing the league, that she's helping everyone eat, that she's here to elevate, not replace. And if you can't see that, that says more about you than it does about her. That's the core of Mitchell's message. It's not just respect Caitlin. It's respect the progress. Respect the players who are trying to build something. Respect the teammates who are showing up every day and choosing team over attention. Because the real ones, the leaders, the culture shifters, they're not the ones complaining about the spotlight moving. They're the ones making sure it stays lit for everyone. And Kelsey Mitchell is doing just that. So let's stop pretending this is just another soundbite. This was a moment, a turning point, a challenge to the league to ask itself, are we going to keep repeating old patterns? Or are we finally going to grow up and grow together? Because one path leads to resentment. The other leads to a dynasty. Indiana knows which one they're walking. And Mitchell's out front leading the way. So what about the rest of the league? Time to choose. And if you're here for that growth, for the real conversations, the unfiltered honesty, and the players who are changing the game from the inside out, hit that subscribe button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Mitchell was right to call out the jealousy? Is this the leadership style the WNBA needs more of? And is the league finally ready to embrace a future that isn't dictated by the past? We'll keep watching. We'll keep covering. And if someone's bold enough to stand for the truth, we'll definitely keep talking about it. Because the W is evolving. And this is what that evolution looks like.